You ever reach a breaking point where you know deep down you just can't ignore the problem anymore? That was me. One quiet morning, sun barely up, I climbed into an old excavator and fired it up like I'd done 100 times before. Except this time, I wasn't digging to build something, I was digging to destroy. Not out of anger, but out of love, really. For my wife, for my land, and for the truth nobody else wanted to face. See, my name's Cole Matters. I live on a spread of land my granddad carved out with his bare hands back in the 40s. The lake on that land, well, it wasn't just water and fish to us. It was where Lily and I spent lazy Sundays, planned a family that cancer would never let us have, and where she whispered, "Don't ever stop fighting for what's right, even if the whole world turns against you." I never thought those words would come back to guide me quite like they did. But 3 months ago, fish started dying in that lake, floating belly up like they were trying to tell me something. I tested the water, but nothing made sense. So I did the only thing that did. I tore the whole thing open. That's when I found it. Cracked concrete, busted PVC, raw sewage running right under my property from an illegal drainage system. Someone, likely the HOA, had built a shortcut to save money, and they'd been poisoning the lake ever since. I didn't even have time to process it before I saw the cars. 3 vehicles pulling up fast, one of them a black SUV with Pine Ridge HOA stickers. And stepping out of it, Meredith Granger, HOA president, permanent scowl, makeup like she was heading to a photo shoot, not a confrontation. She had that phone out faster than a gunslinger. "You're destroying community infrastructure," she barked. "This is a crime." I climbed out the excavator slow, steady, hands where she could see. "I'm on my land, using my gear, digging into my lake. You might want to take a look before you go live on TikTok." I pointed at the sewage pouring into what used to be clear water. Her eyes flicked to the broken pipe, then right back to me. She dialed the sheriff like she was ordering pizza. "Yeah, Sheriff Daniels, it's Meredith. Urgent. He's armed, unstable, threatening public safety. Yes, I need SWAT immediately." Her voice was sugary but sharp. I knew what she was doing. Spin the story before the facts catch up. But what Meredith didn't know was this. Sheriff Daniels? He knew me. Hell, he taught me how to shoot my first rifle and carried my granddad's casket at the funeral. So when that call came through, he knew something didn't add up. Still, policy's policy. SWAT rolled out. Siren screaming, chopper in the air. I stood there, clutching legal documents, hoping like hell someone would listen. Daniel stepped out of his cruiser like a man walking through a landmine field. "Morning, Cole," you said real calm, like this was just another Sunday. Meredith came storming up behind him, phone still filming, hair still perfect. "Sheriff, arrest him! He's tearing apart a vital water system and threatening board members." Daniels gave her one look and said, "Meredith, hush a second." Then he turned to me, nodding. "Show me what you found." That's all he said. Just like that, the air shifted. SWAT guys lowered their weapons. I handed over everything. Deed from 1943, original environmental agreements signed by my granddad and the county, and new water tests that showed chemicals off the charts. Daniels read, his brow tightening with every line. "Well, damn, Cole," he muttered. "If what's in here holds up, Cole, then not only did they trespass and contaminate your lake, they just violated the original land charter. And that means," he looked up, eyes wide, "all management rights revert to you." Meredith went ghost white, and then crimson. "This is a setup," she screamed, shoving her phone in his face. "He's manipulating the system." Right then, someone I didn't expect stepped forward. Tanya Alvarez, HOA secretary, and probably the only person on that board that didn't make my skin crawl. She looked right at Daniels and said, "Sheriff, I have a recording from our emergency meeting. Meredith's known about the leak for months. She just didn't want to pay for the fix." She played the clip. Meredith's voice, clear as day, saying, If we stall it till after elections, it's not our problem anymore. That moment, that was the crack, the shift. Daniels looked at me, then her, and said, flat out, "Meredith Granger, you need to lawyer up." But it didn't end there. 3 days later, I got a mandatory community safety meeting notice stuffed in my mailbox. Brenda was coming at me with everything she had, court of public opinion. I walked into that community center and it was like walking into a firing squad. Photos of my demolition work, twisted stories, fake testimonies, all carefully staged to paint me as a bitter widower with a bulldozer and a grudge. They booed when I stood, asked if I was trying to tank their property values, said I was mentally unstable, that I should move away before I made things worse. And I nearly folded, until Tanya stood up again. She raised her phone high and said, "He's not lying. Meredith covered it up. She manipulated all of us." Played another recording. Silence. Then it flipped, like a switch. People started yelling not at me, but at Meredith. "You lied to us. You endangered our kids. Where's the HOA money going?" Meredith fled the room, but not before whispering to her right-hand man, "Initiate Plan B." Plan B turned out to be cash. Next morning, neighbors were getting rebate checks for $500 with forms to sign, a petition accusing me of disrupting community safety. It wasn't even subtle. Sign and cash the check. Enough folks did, and by Monday she'd filed a lawsuit and a restraining order to stop me from digging. And yeah, that one hit hard. Her lawyers came at us with glossy binders, big-name testimonies, and a high-powered woman named Colleen Blake who spoke like a prosecutor on TV. They painted me as a ticking bomb, unstable, angry, dangerous. Mason did his best, but our evidence had been stolen during a break-in. I knew who did it, Tyler Granger, Meredith's son, the gambler, but we had no proof. Or so I thought. 3 days later, Tanya came to me again, this time with a security video from her own house. Tyler, in my kitchen, stealing my laptop. A recording of him and Meredith in her SUV afterwards. "Did you get the files?" she asks. "Yeah, but he might have backups. We need to end this guy quick." We took it straight to the judge. Turns out, that judge, she was Lily's college friend. And now she knew the full story. Called an emergency hearing, reversed the restraining order, called in the feds, and dissolved the HOA. Just like that. Meredith was arrested right there in the courtroom. Her son, too. Other board members followed. The FBI called it a web of environmental crimes, fraud, and conspiracy. Me, I didn't feel like celebrating. I felt relief, then sadness, then maybe, just maybe, a bit of hope. 6 months later, Pine Ridge was different. The lake, clean again. Kids learning to fish where dead carp once floated. Tanya now ran the new community council. We renamed the lake Lily's Refuge and placed a stone bench by the shore where she used to sit, a little plaque that read, "For the love of truth." Even Mason, my lawyer, got his moment. His firm now fights corrupt HOAs full-time. And Meredith? One day I got a cold call from a woman selling home insurance. Voice sounded familiar. Turned out it was her, now working phones at some low-tier agency. I didn't tell her who I was, just wished her well and hung up. Because justice isn't about crushing someone. It's about setting things right and walking away with your head high. So yeah, maybe Lily was right all along. Sometimes you fight not because you hate what's in front of you, but because you love what's behind you. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever had to take a stand against corruption in your own community? Did you win? Did it cost you something? Drop your story down in the comments. I'll be reading every one of them. And hey, if you believe truth still matters, go ahead and hit that like button, share this with a friend, and subscribe for more stories that remind us all what's worth fighting for. Because at the end of the day, integrity may not always win first, but it wins for good.